This is part 3 of my Rotel RX-1203 receiver repair and restoration. There's a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's a great day outside, so I thought I'd get outside again, do some cleaning up on the RX-1203's faceplate and knobs. I've brought out my little portable table here. Got some warm water and some rags and a toothbrush, and I'm just going to sit out here this morning. It's about 70 degrees. It's gorgeous. The sun's just coming up here over the wood line, and so I'm going to work outside today on the knobs and on the faceplate. Got my little portable work table out here and a cold drink, and I'm going to get started on that faceplate and those knobs. A lot of times warm water, a toothbrush, it'll work out pretty good. So this works out pretty nice. This workbench, it's a Husky little portable workbench. You know, these legs just kind of fold back up inside it. It's a good heavy table. It's plastic, but it's pretty heavy duty. I never feel like, even when I put a big piece of equipment on it, like it's going to collapse on me. So it works out really good for this. And I'm going to move these bowls up here. I've got some warm water with some dish soap, just a little bit of work. And a lot of times you can make these knobs look practically brand new. That toothbrush will get down in those grooves a little bit and clean that dirt out of there. Going to get in here and clean up the face. I just use a cloth, you know, dampen it a little bit, and you can get right in here and clean most of the garbage, clean all that old stuff off, all that old dirt and dust that was inside the faceplate. You can get that all cleaned up pretty easily, usually with just a little bit of water. It'll get it right off. After 45 years, it's time, while you've got this unit all apart, just to get in there and clean it up a little bit. I think it gets quite a bit of gets the years of grime off of it. Because once this faceplate goes back on, it's probably not going to come off for a very long time again. Q-tips work great. You can just wet them a little bit of water. And you can just get down in all those areas, those little tight areas. Windex, a paper towel, works great also. Be very surprised though, on a vertical surface like this dial, how much dirt and grime there is on it. It's going to really look great when the unit's all put back together again. I've also got a little battery powered air duster, because when you use paper towel, you're going to get those little pieces of paper coming off of it. When you use a rag, same thing. You're going to get little pieces of stuff that get loose in the air, and you're cleaning something that's dirty. So when you look, you see all kinds of stuff floating in the air. So you can use compressed air. That works fine. Those cans that you can get of compressed air, I used to use those a lot. Then I ended up buying this battery operated air duster. You know, it's rechargeable, and it works pretty good. You can get in there and blow out all that dust when you're all set. You've got it all cleaned up. You want to get those last little specks off, because you know you hate when you put your faceplate back on and then you see a little speck of paper towel or a little speck of anything. So this helps really blow all that type of stuff out. Installed in this RX-1203 are blue LED fuse lamps. There's 8 of them. I'm not real crazy about the blue. I don't mind changing colors sometimes, but I just don't like the way it looks with this particular unit. I've got all kinds of parts around, and fuse lamps is one of them. I think these are just, these are your standard fuse lamps, and I'm going to give those a try and see if I don't like the coloring a little bit better. And we're going to just take the lens out here so we can clean it better. Gotta be a little bit cautious with this guy. Don't want to get too crazy again. So we say this isn't trauma surgery, is it? There he goes. He just came loose for us, yeah. And we just got this end down here. Just don't want to bend it too much. You know, you can bend it a little bit. And there we go. Hopefully you saw that. He came right out. And this way we can clean him up and clean the inside of the fuse amp assembly up. And I'm going to change those out, those blues out anyways. Okay, I'm going to just remove these fuse lamps out. Pull them right out of there. And as you can see, I'm just able to move it with my, here with my finger to get them out of the sockets here. And then I can move them out of the way. I've got my fuse lamps here. Take out, we need 8 of them, so that's what I'll take out. And just install them. And these are not LEDs. I don't know. LEDs sometimes, I like them. Sometimes I don't. All right, we got them all in. Now we can go ahead and reassemble this and see what it looks like. We've got everybody snapped back into place there, and go ahead and put the cover back on, and I'm gonna see what this looks like. Okay, I've got this guy back in position. I've got the new lamps in, and this will be the first power up here to see what they look like. So here we go. Oh yeah. Oh yes. It's got that RX-1203 look again. It surely does. I like that so much better than that kind of blue-green color it was. It just, well, you know, it's original. Now it looks like it did 45 years ago, but yeah, and as I said, I'm not totally against changing colors. I've got a Macintosh MX110 tube preamp tuner, and I put green LEDs in it, and I think it looks the way it should. It's not original, but I think it looks the way it should. And oh yeah, this is nice. Very, very nice. I just love the way this looks now. So this is staying. This is a keeper. I ended up using some Mother's mag and aluminum polish on the knobs and on the faceplate. I've never had an issue with this particular polish on any aluminum faceplate I've ever tried it on. But if you're going to use this, I suggest you try a small spot. Make sure it's not going to damage anything, because it goes without saying that a mag and an aluminum polish is much more abrasive than warm water and a little bit of dish soap. You just rub it off, and boy, does that look good. It really does. It does look good. I'm not sure if you can see that, but boy, does it shine up that knob. Boy, it really does a nice job getting down in those grooves of this aluminum, getting that old dirt and crud out of there. As I said, with the faceplate, you should just try a spot just to make sure you don't have some sort of an adverse reaction, especially where any of the lettering and numbering is. As I said, I've never had an issue. It doesn't mean you're not going to. So I'm going to go ahead and do the faceplate. About ready to put the faceplate back on. What I'll do here again is take my little air duster here. And make sure that we've got all the dust out of the faceplate, including, I'm going to put this guy on obviously, and I'm going to give him a hit here. We're just worried about the inside of the faceplate, right? The outside, we'll be able to clean him if we get something on him, but it's the inside that we want to make sure is as clear as possible. So we're going to put her on there, and boy, that felt pretty good. I think she's on. Let's go ahead and put the screws in up here at the top, and then we'll get the ones in at the bottom. Now I'll put the RX-1203 back up on its side. As you guys may recall, when I took all the knobs off, I did it on its side. That's easier for me, and also there's less risk of damage to the faceplate. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just lift her up on her left-hand side here, and I'm going to go ahead and replace all of the knobs back onto the faceplate. I'm going to put the knobs back on now. And as I've mentioned before, much safer from the bottom, and really, it's easy also. This will be the first power up since I put the knobs back on. I've got the RX-1203 back down flat, and I think we're ready to go here to power it up. I've got her powered up here for the first time with the knobs back on it. Boy, does it look nice. This is really a sweet looking receiver, and I can't wait to listen to it. We're getting so much closer here to bench testing now. That'll be the next step, is to bring it up on the test bench, hook some specialized test equipment to it, see what this 45-year-old receiver can do. So now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the bias up on both channels, as well as to set the DC offset up on both channels. So we'll start with the bias. What you should always do, just the safest thing, right now I have the unit unplugged and off. Do your connections with the power off. You can do it with the power on, but you got to be extremely careful. And it takes just one slip. You could destroy your output transistors or blow up something else. I'm going to go ahead here now, and according to the service manual, which I always tell you all to download, go to hifiengine.com, download the service manual, and according to this, the negative lead, we're supposed to find a pin designated B2 on each of these assemblies. And the positive lead to the meter, a pin designated TP, and it's right next to it. And then I just run these wires across out to the other side where I'll hook them up to my multimeters. And so that's the left channel. Now the right channel, we got to do the same thing. And so we're ready to go. All right, I've got the two meters set up and turned on. They're both on millivolts. This one is on the left channel, this one's on the right channel. And they are monitoring those two leads that we hooked up on the left and the right channel. We ought to see around 30 millivolts once this all settles down. So here we go. I've got the power switch over here, and I just clicked it on. And you can see the meters running. They're all over the place right now a little bit, right? As I said, it takes them a little bit of time to stabilize. And you really should, as I said before, go about a half hour before you set this up at any kind of a final adjustment. But after 3-4 minutes, we ought to see where they're going to be at. And you can tell they're just kind of gradually going up. We just got to wait. I'm going to go get something to drink. I'll just let it sit here and I'll let it stabilize, and I'll give it about a half hour and then come back and see where we're at. So there we go. Pretty much got them set up. They're both right around 30 millivolts, give or take. They're running down 29s now. They're running 29 or so now, 30, both channels. And then they'll move up, you know, a millivolt or two and move on back down. So that's pretty darn close. That's what we want. These guys are within a millivolt, really within probably a half a millivolt of each other. So I think we got that all set up. I think she's ready to go for another 45 years before this would have to be done again. So up next is DC offset. Now here's a problem. This is the DC offset for the left channel. It's all over the place. You can see here it goes anywhere from, well, I've seen it go anywhere from 50 millivolts positive to 50 millivolts negative. It's all over the place, right? Should be zero or close. You know, these things will move around a little bit, but not like this. So this is another thing that's broke in this receiver, and it's not unusual. And if you listen to it, you wouldn't hear it. You can't hear this. But at some point, you know, there's probably a bad transistor. It's noisy. I'm just going to have to look at the schematic. I'm going to have to take that left channel power amp back out of this receiver to fix that, because it's not right. It's just all over the place. So this receiver's had, frankly, a typical amount of problems that I see, even though they're all supposed to be working great. And you wouldn't know it. You know, this receiver is working. And a lot of people would say it is working great, but this is another example why they need to get up on a test bench. Anything that's 45 years old, electronics, audio equipment, it is not working correctly. You can say it is, but it's not. And it just depends how bad your problem is. It seems like it takes blown fuses and smoke before people think they've got a problem. But most of these units have problems that don't involve blown fuses and smoke. And this is a good example of one. All right, here we go again. I'm going to remove the left channel power amp assembly. Remember, did this initially, and now I'm going to have to take it back out to see what's going on with that DC offset problem. All right, here we go again. I'm going to remove the left channel power amp assembly. Remember, did this initially, and now I'm going to have to take it back out to see what's going on with that DC offset problem. And there we go. We've got it out. I've got the assembly loosened from the heat sinks, and looking at the schematic, my first thought is Q801 and Q802, which are these two transistors right here. They're directly responsible for allowing you to adjust that DC offset. So what I'm going to do, without getting out any test equipment, other than my transistor tester, I'm going to remove these two transistors, and I'm going to test them and see what we get. See if they're good or bad. And so I'm going to change out the 921s with 2SA 992s. I buy these in usually hundreds, and these need to be gain matched or close. They don't have to be perfect. They need to be closer than those 921s that are coming out of this unit, which is screwing up our DC offset. I'm going to measure a few of these and pick two that match up pretty good. All right, I've got the new transistors installed, and now I'll go ahead and put it all back together, and we'll give it a try. We'll see where we're at. Well, it looks like I guessed right. After replacing those two transistors, the DC offset's acting much more like it should act. This is what you should see. I'm going to go ahead and wrap everything up, and we can put this up on the bench and do some power and distortion tests. So that's what I'm going to do now. I've got the Rotel RX-1203 up on the test bench, and we're going to do a little bit of power and distortion testing. I use a Sound Technology 3200A audio analyzer, which is a piece of vintage equipment in itself, but it was state of the art back in the 1980s, and it does a great job on this old vintage equipment. It wouldn't be much use with today's equipment, but testing this equipment, it does a great job. Along with the audio analyzer, I'll use a signal generator, and in addition to that, I'll use a pair of 8 ohm 300 watt load resistors. You'll notice that I haven't used tie wraps to put everything back neatly yet. I'll go ahead and bench test the RX-1203. If everything checks out all right, then I'll go about tidying up and making it look pretty again. Back years ago, I used to have all my test equipment set up on the table, and I found out that I used about 10% of it 90% of the time, and the other 90% of it 10% of the time. I keep more room open on my test bench instead of just having stuff I don't ever use. And like in this equipment's case, it took me 15 minutes or so to bring out all the test equipment, hook up all the cables, and while it's out here, I'll probably hook up a couple more pieces of my equipment while I've got the audio analyzer out here and everything. So it just works out better for me. This way I've got the computer on the same table, and as you saw in this restoration, I needed quite a bit of room with this RX-1203. It's a pretty big piece of equipment, and if I have all this other stuff out on the test bench, it just doesn't work for me. I do keep my soldering iron out there, and I keep a pair of speakers. Going to start some testing on the RX-1203. I've got everything set up and ready to go. I'm going to just now, first of all, I've got the output of the signal generator going into the auxiliary of the 1203. I've got the load resistors hooked up, and I think we're ready to begin. And that's another thing. I've got a 1,000 hertz sine wave right now going into the auxiliary, and you may be able to hear that. You may not. It's a 1,000 hertz tone. Right now I'm about 9 o'clock on the volume control. I've got all the controls flat. The two channels are quite even. I mean, we're less than 1/10 of a watt. So, but this right here kind of show how well the two channels are tracking together, and also how well the volume control is tracking between the two channels. So I'm going to just keep moving it a little bit here. I'm at about, maybe 10 o'clock. You can see this channel, this here is showing you the left channel. Power output, continuous, 1.8 watts. And this is the right channel, 1.9. So that's very close. You know, these volume controls are never perfect. They just aren't. And I expect this, as I turn it, this may differ a little bit. Right now the left channel is a little bit lower than the right. Maybe it'll change, maybe it won't, but very rarely are these in line and perfect all the way up through the range. So what we're going to do now, as I said before, we're tracking the two channels, both the left and the right channel. Now we'll do a total harmonic distortion test, and I'll push that button there, and this is the left channel, this is the distortion, this is the power. So we got 1.63 watts and 0.02 and change distortion, which is way under 0.05. So that's great. And you know, that's the thing I love about this old stuff, is here it is 45 years old. You know, this is 2021, and this piece of equipment can easily beat its specs, right? I mean, I know this is just one test at one particular spot, but most of the time this equipment was rated very conservatively. So let's go over to the right channel, which on this analyzer they designate the right channel as channel B, the left channel is channel A. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to push this button down here. It's going to take us over to the right hand channel. And again, it's 0.029. I mean, at 1.76 watts. I mean, that's excellent. What I'm going to do now, we'll leave it on the B channel. And I'm just going to start turning the volume. And so the wattage is going to go up, and we'll see what happens with the distortion. So I'm just going to go up one notch. 286. Distortion didn't even change, did it? You know, 0.0294. I'm going one more. Went up a hair, right? 0.03. Just over it. Now we're at 4 watts a channel. I'm going again. Another one. Again, 0.03 and change, right? We're at 4 watts. I turned it again. Now we're at 5. 0.03. Again, 8. 8.3 watts. 0.0329. Turned it again. 15. 0.0369. I'm going to turn it again. 30 watts. Still 0.0439. Under that 0.05. Right? If you're running 30 watts continuous with this, oh man, you know the peaks are much higher than that. So I mean, this is running 30 watts continuous. This will warm up even at 30 watts. You think, well, this is 120 watts a channel. You're not going to run this receiver 30 watts continuous. So this will warm up the heat sinks. I'll let it run here a minute. And why don't we just go over for the fun of it? We're at 30.2 watts on the right channel, and we're at 0.04% distortion. So I'm going to go over to the left channel. Let's see what we got. 31.9 at 0.0379, almost 0.04, right? So, pretty similar. But that's the thing I love about this stuff, right? I mean, as I said, here we are. I know I've just rebuilt this, but I love going in here and verifying this stuff. I just think it's so cool, you know, that this old equipment can still run, and this thing would run all day like this. You know, that's the thing. You know, I'm just sitting here staring at it, and again, 30 watts continuous, it would be extremely loud in your stereo system. And I'm just sitting here staring at it. Now I'm going to touch the heat sinks back here. I don't know if you can see this or not. Let's see here. Let me just touch somebody. What do they feel like? It's warm. Nothing to... Yeah, left channel feels about like the right. It's warm, but as you saw, maybe you didn't, I was able to put my finger on it and leave it there. If you can do that, it's not hot by any means. So, I mean, as I said, I just think it's so cool, this old equipment that'll run like this. I enjoy bench testing the equipment, and back years ago, I used to, frankly, push the stuff harder than I do nowadays. I think, okay, this receiver, it's rated at 120 watts per channel and 8 ohms. Let's see it do it. And I'm very confident it would do it, but why? I'm never gonna operate it like that, and neither is anyone else. And it is 45 years old. Give it a break, right? I ran it up to 50, 60 watts a channel, and it's fine. I really enjoy going through it. This is just another part of the hobby. I enjoy listening to the music, but I really like the technical side too. And I love bringing a piece up on the test bench and verifying that it's 100% or as close to being 100% as it can be, being 45 years old. So this looked pretty good here. I didn't find really any issues. What I'm going to do now is get in there and kind of tidy up things a little bit. Got wires all over the place, as you know, from the restoration. And I'm going to get the covers on it. Go ahead and, you know, end up doing what it was made to do to begin with, and that's to make some music. So I'm going to finish up here, and then I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to get the 1203 all wrapped up and call it a bench test. I hope you enjoyed part 3 of my Rotel RX-1203 repair and restoration. If you did, please leave me a big thumbs up down below, and for you non-subscribers, please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. And for my present subscribers, as always, thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.